All right, let's move on to the next part. Speaking of what a world we live in, we wanted to cover this and just give a general reaction. We haven't been able to do that one yet. From Sora, the new product that is being released, at least being red teamed currently by a select few, that's been released by OpenAI. This is text to video and some of the most stunning imagery from AI that we have seen yet. We have a couple of prompts that we wanted to show everybody. The first one, let's put this up there on the screen, is just amazing. This was the first really one that they released. It says, for those who are just listening, a beautiful snowy Tokyo City is bustling. The camera moves through the bustling city street, following several people enjoying the snowy weather, shopping at nearby stalls. Gorgeous sakura petals are flying through the wind along with snowflakes. I mean, it really does appear real. It's only whenever you get really close in, Krystal, to some of their faces that you can tell that it's fake, because it's a bit blurry and it's still in that uncanny valley. But if you are, you know, a decent enough away and from their profile, it would pass the smell test, I think. It's no longer really there. The next one, too, is quite adorable. Let's go and put this one up there. Two golden retrievers podcasting on top of a mountain. What gets me is the realistic way that golden retriever is panting. Now here we have a white and orange tabby cat seen happily darting through a dense garden, chasing something. Its eyes are wide and happy as it jogs forward, scanning the branches, flowers, and leaves as it walks. The path is narrow as it makes its way between all the plants. The scene is captured from a ground level angle, following the cat closely. This one does appear to fake to me. I'm not sure about you.
Yeah.
This one's in the uncanny valley for the cat. The other two, they look real. The golden retriever one is the most real.
I agree with you. And the thing with the dogs, first of all, they're adorable.
Yes.
On their little red and white picnic blanket on the mountain, with the little headphones on. And the way that the wind is rustling their fur.
Right.
It's like, how do you do that? I mean, you know, and it's just based on that text prompt of two golden retrievers podcasting on a mountain. And you get the scenery is beautiful. The thought of like putting them on this little blanket and the microphone looks in the headphones and the way that they're interacting with each other. It's pretty wild. I mean, it is incredible. The number of scenes that I've seen, especially the ones that are like scenery or landscape, I mean, those seem very, very real and very accurate.
Next, Krystal. We can actually, this is amazing. This is actually, when it does come out, this is what I'm gonna use it most for, which is historical footage. Let's put this one, please, up on the screen. Historical footage of California during the gold rush.
Wow.
What's amazing about this is not just like the Deadwood style architecture, the horses and everything, is also like the patina color on the camera, as if it's old footage, and the landscape reverting it back to where it was, the oxen, you know, people pulling, just, I mean, the shadows there, like in the saloon. For me, that is just absolutely amazing. And again, you don't get in far enough to realize the uncanny valley. Here also, just to show everybody the progress that's been made, here's one from 2023 of Will Smith that was an original prompt. It was like, show Will Smith eating spaghetti. Now compare it to where we are now. Look how awful, you know, his features, his eyes, and everything
terrifying.
were. It's terrible. Yeah, I mean, it's just not. It's his mouth, you know, barely opens, and then look at the realistic nature. I'm not sure what the prompt is on that other one, but it's like old man with a beard sitting in a cafe, people moving behind him. I mean, it looks based. It's almost the only reason that we can tell it's not real is because his features are a little bit too perfect.
Yeah.
It's like things are just a little bit too smooth. It's like if somebody hits airbrush or something on Instagram.
Well, yeah, agree. But I do feel like, you know, we have the luxury of knowing that it was AI generated.
Right. That's true.
I think that if I just saw that video and didn't know, I don't think that I would pick up on that, because like you said, it could easily just be a filter. It could just be good lighting, making him look in, you know, the most ideal way that he could possibly look. So I mean, we have passed a significant Rubicon now, where it is not just rubes and people who aren't very sophisticated and people who don't have a good eye or whatever, who can be completely 100% tricked by these, because especially depending on the prompt and depending on what you're talking about, I think the human beings are still the most challenging, but that old man, like I said, I mean, that looks very real to me. We are in a new phase now, and there's a lot to say about, I can't even wrap my head around all of the implications of not only where this technology is right now, but as you were just pointing out, the fact that it developed and progressed so quickly in 1 year is mind-blowing. It's extraordinary. And I also feel like it's kind of terrifying because I don't know what all the implications are, and neither do these people who are developing it and putting it out into the world. And certainly neither do our lawmakers have any sort of a grasp of what the risks and what the potential implications are. So I am in the camp that is amazed by this, but also very, very unsettled by what it could mean.
Some of the implications so far that I've seen, commercial application, what you might see, and our producer Griffin floats that all commercials may basically be over now, or you can get decent enough stock footage and other things that you can use in the past. You no longer have to hire actors. One of the immediate implications I thought of for people who work in film is think about how much nicer it will be for storyboarding an idea. Like if you're working on a project and you want to just get to roughly what it should look like in your vision, you can use something like this instead of having cartoon artists and others sketch things out. Secondary is we can think about animated film, what something that could look like, the ways that, you know, Disney, Pixar, and all of the other magic that we've seen. I mean, this was revolutionary technology. It's why Pixar was one of the most, it was such a valuable part of Disney that Disney even purchased them. It's a huge part of childhood. You can think about, you know, using a product like this to dramatically lower the unit cost, move things over to YouTube. In terms of voiceover and all of that, it just takes a lot of the work out of it because then you just have to put that in there. You don't have to do any of the animation. Those are just things that immediately come to mind. You know, and I'm trying to think about circumstances that we may use it. So from what we understand right now, our team will use AI stuff, Midjourney, I believe, for thumbnails, like in retrospect. So, but I'm trying to think about, you know, maybe a circumstance that if we want to recreate something that had happened and explain it to our audience, maybe we could type something in here. And especially if it gets good enough with politicians, you could create a scenario where somebody can literally have it come to life. I'm just thinking out loud.
Imagine
cool
Gavin Newsom at the Democratic National Convention giving his acceptance speech after he's just vanquished Kamala Harris. What would it look like? Yeah, I mean, I struggle to really understand what the implications would be for us in particular. The thing that is very clear is just we're at a point now, guys, where you can't believe your eyes. You know, just because you were seeing a video, a picture, whatever, audio, and it looks real, it sounds real, it feels real, does not mean that it's real. And that is, I think, a very difficult thing for human beings to struggle with. I don't think we're ready for it. I don't think our politicians are ready for it. The most clear, as you're pointing out, Saagar, implications in terms of industry and workers is in Hollywood, as you guys know, because we covered it extensively at the time. Both the actors and the writers and the directors, they were all on strike. And some of the key things that they were concerned about were implications of AI. And for the actors, this rapid development in technology has the largest implications. The contract that they just agreed to and signed does not have great protections in terms of AI. It has some provisions, but even at the time, there's a reason why many of these contract deals, once they're, you know, crafted, they get overwhelming, like 98% support. This one had more reluctance associated with the rank and file, specifically because of concerns over AI protections. Wired had a good write-up at the time. Can put this up on the screen. So one of the people who worked directly on the AI provisions and was sounding the alarms about some of the language in the agreement, she said that she was worried primarily about quote unquote synthetic performers or AIs that resemble humans. Quote, this gives the studios and streamers a green light to use human looking AI objects instead of hiring a human actor. It's one thing to use generative AI to make a King Kong or a flying serpent. It is another to have an AI object play a human character instead of a real actor. So how do you regulate that? And there are some provisions in here that's like, you can't just take Denzel Washington and AI generate him and put him in your thing. However, what if you take someone with a lot of the characteristics of Denzel Washington, who's sort of giving Denzel Washington, but isn't actually exactly like Denzel Washington? Where do you draw the line of where the boundaries are legally? But I feel like we see this already in some of the lawsuits over music and whether or not some, you know, beat or rhythm or part of a track was used illegally by another artist, and you have to go through the courtroom process of like, is it similar enough to count as being a ripoff and infringement or not? So we're moving into a realm where that will have to be legislated in court too. Like, how close can you come to a known actor before you're over the line and you're ripping off that person's likeness? The other thing that they expect is that this will further increase the sort of inequality in Hollywood in terms of the acting profession. Because if you are an A-list star, you have the money and you have the, brand awareness and the media attention, et cetera, to fight back if you and your likeness are being used in these ways that are potentially over the line. If you aren't that person, if you aren't the Denzel Washington, you don't have the resources to fight back. You are expendable, and AI is very cheap. So they can render someone who looks very much like you and sounds very much like you and plug you in the background of films, plug you in as an extra, and you don't see a dime. So I do think for a lot of actors who aren't, the top, this is quite an existential threat to their industry and to their work in the same way, and they make this parallel in the Wired piece, in the same way that automated truck driving is a threat to Teamsters and professional truck drivers. This is already an existential threat to many acting professionals.
Absolutely, I certainly think it does. In terms of what we should do about it, I honestly don't know. I'm still in a wait and see mode, just because something I always talk about, full self-driving technology for Tesla and all that. Listen, it can get you on the highway, but like if you're asking it to turn left or something in a crowded street, good luck. It's not there. And this is billions of dollars that have been thrown at it. Everyone's like, oh, this is going to replace Hollywood. I just don't think so. I continue to come back to the Noam Chomsky op-ed, remember, they wrote in the New York Times about how LLMs fundamentally misunderstand the evolution of human language, of thought, of creativity. And look, Noam, you could think whatever you want about his politics. I happen to agree with some of it, but he is a world-renowned linguist. He kind of knows what he's talking about. And the point that he makes is that syntax, the construction of language, and all of that itself, simply compiling that in the database just misses the deep human evolution of language over, 6 million years now. Yeah, that's been happening. I happen to have some faith in that. That doesn't mean that this won't be a very, very useful tool. I don't see it as a replacement. Maybe the AI will roll this and laugh at me, 10 years from now or whatever. But I could be wrong. We'll see.
Well, the thing is, in a scripted production, though, you're not depending on the AI to generate the human-like speech.
Yeah, true.
You have screenwriters, although, potentially they're heading in the direction of also using AI, at least for first drafts or polishing or whatever. But in terms of the video piece, I think the technology is already at a place where for extras, it's done. Like if you have, your primary actors in the front of the scene, you've got people behind you eating and walking the dog and talking to their kids or whatever. This tech is already good enough that you could do that and no one would notice that these aren't actual real human beings.
And there's other stuff like that. I'm not 100% familiar. I believe the term are secondaries, things that you film away from the main cast. Sometimes it can be tracking shots or extra stuff. If you could use AI for that, you just save money on a drone, you save money on a helicopter, there's all kinds of scenery shots.
And then all the crew that would be responsible for filming that and editing that, et cetera. It would also impact their industry greatly as well. So, like I said, the fulsome implications, I don't think anyone can really wrap their head around what it's going to look like and where the technology is going to end up. But I think already there are clear, huge implications for Hollywood in particular. And, I'm not sure that I don't feel like we are ready to grapple with the fallout from what this incredible technology is going to mean for that industry in particular, but more broadly as well.
I agree.
Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.